Good evening and welcome to tonight's driver's ed class. We'll wait a few minutes for people to log in. Hopefully everybody had a wonderful day. Outside temperature was very warm, and who knows how many more days we're going to get temperatures like that, but it was certainly enjoyable. So please sign in. Hopefully everybody is can always count on my two first students to sign in as usual, which is good. We're up to about 6. Now remember, you have to sign in on text message, okay? If you don't want to get the YouTube channel, if you don't want comments up there, that's fine, but it has to come through. That is your file, your text messages where you send me your articles, your homework. The tests that you do come through on my email, but everything else I keep track of is on my phone. That way I can just scroll very quickly. I don't have to go through lengthy emails to see people that sent me their work. It's just easier because you're in my contacts. So that's what I need. I need you to do your work. I need you to send it in a timely manner. A lot of people still haven't taken that, and I know, I apologize. I kind of grouped, I think, like 3 subjects in the sample questions from last night on alcohol. I threw some bad weather questions in, and also some with insurance. So it must have been a week that I had class, and I decided just to put everything just right into one test. I try to break it out for each chapter. I don't think I have any openings tomorrow. Saturday, if you want to drive, let me know, and I'll see if I can try to squeeze you in. If not, definitely Monday or Tuesday. We'll get at it. I don't want to mention names, but I will say that one person in class has already done their driving, so congratulations. Did a very good job with driving. So I'll do my best to get you done, but you have to work with me and freeing up time. Okay, it's difficult with scheduling. So make sure that you try to get a hold of me and set things up for next week. Because after that, who knows what's going to happen with new 16 students coming on board. Got a lot to go over tonight. We're going to start tonight's class talking about insurance, and then we're going to probably end up talking about road rage. We are going to talk about wildlife that we may encounter while we're out on the road. You're seeing on the road more roadkill this time of year. Animals are scurrying around trying to find food, and you're going to see more roadkill out on the road. So I have about a 15-minute little clip that I want to show you that's done by New Hampshire Wildlife. Their agency provided it to us a few years back, so I'll show you that. And then we're going to get into road rage a little bit later tonight. So let's get right into talking about car crashes and insurance. So let's go right to it. If you go to your manual, okay, so let me kind of move ahead here. I didn't open it up tonight. Let's see if I can find it real quick. It's not a very lengthy. So go to page 32. Page 32 is where we're going to get a lot of our information. And everything that we cover tonight is on basically 1 1/4 pages in the state manual. Unbelievable how they've cut down the information that they provide you now to get a good grasp of what's going on the roadway. So I am going to break this down. To give you more information so you'll have a better idea what to do when you're involved in a crash. So write down the term defensive driving. You've probably heard that. Let me guess. Echo. Why does that happen? Let me see my phone. Hold on a second. Thank you, Madison. Okay. It happens. Every time I start class and I go from my room shot of me into the PowerPoint, it always happens. So someone please, I'm going to just keep talking for just a bit. Let me know now if the echo is gone. So I turned off the built-in microphone on the computer. I am now just solely on my stand-up mic that's right in front of my mouth. I kind of like it because it gives more depth to what we're talking about. The microphone on the computer is about 18 inches to 2 feet away, and I think it doesn't sound as good as this. So hopefully, okay, so please make a comment that there is no echo so I can know that I can carry on. While I'm waiting for a comment, I want you to write down defensive driving, and I want you to write down this first sentence. Every driver, if they obeyed the laws and rules and always drove sensibly, oh good, it's gone now, thank you, driving would be simpler and safer. I really hope that you understand the more driving that you do with me and the more driving that you do with your parents is that we can learn rules and regulations and we can try to apply it to our driving. But the biggest problem for you when you're out driving is the people that don't obey laws and rules, because that's going to make you guess on what they're doing and how you should handle it. That's the hardest part of driving, is dealing with other people and their mistakes, because they could do something totally off the wall, like go up the wrong way of a one-way street. And I think most of you are now probably have completed reading the whole manual. There is nothing in the manual or in the textbook that will alert you to what are the steps that you should take when someone is coming at you on a one-way roadway. I mean, think about it. Let's just take that one example right now, and let's kind of break it down. Okay, and someone put it up on a comment on YouTube or on your phone. Write down. You tell me, if someone is coming at you on a one-way street like in Durham, because it's all going in one direction, someone comes out of a parking lot, makes the wrong turn, what are you going to do? Someone give me an answer. I'm going to just wait here for a second because there is a time delay. So from the time that I ask a question, it's going to give you probably 30 seconds to a minute before you're able to hear it and then probably respond it and have it come back to me. But I think that's a good place for us to start. So we have to watch out for what people are doing wrong. And here's the other thing, is being willing to adjust what we're doing so we're not involved in a crash. And I don't like the word accident. I like the word crash or collision, because accident almost makes it seem like there's nothing that could have been done. Most of the time in driving, you should be able to take the initiative and take steps to minimize what is happening. And that's what we're talking about. So I haven't had anybody throw me a lifeline here on what would you do with that one-way driver. There's at least 3 things I can think of right now. So let's see if people can come up with it. Stop and pull over to the right. That is probably one of the best answers. Stop, absolutely, because the crash is going to be less with at least one vehicle stopping. Can I get a horn? Beep, beep. Can anybody give me a horn? All right. That's another thing that you could do. Another thing that you could do is flash your lights. Okay. Flashing your lights, especially at nighttime. So I didn't give you when this one-way wrong way driver on a one-way roadway is coming towards you, but flashing your lights may be a good indicator that something's wrong. So at night, flashing lights. But I really think the number one answer would be move to the right and stop. Yeah. Give them a little bit of extra room in case they go by. But definitely get out of their way. Yeah, is that we don't want to have a crash. Even if we're right and we're doing everything we can, we're trying to minimize contact with that other car. That's good. So let's talk about, let's say a crash is going to happen. One of the best places, now no one ever wants to get hit, but if you were to choose, there's 4 sides to the car. So let's just break it down into the 3 categories: rear, front, and sides. All right, we know there's a left side and a right side. So even with sides, and we'll get to that in a moment, but if you could choose a place to get hit in your vehicle, always choose the back. Because if you're getting hit from the back, you're more towards the front of the vehicle than the back of the car. Now, granted, you may have passengers in the back of your car, so that's going to be problematic. But let's talk about what we should do. Here's the first thing that they say is be careful because you may get pushed to the vehicle in front of you. This is why I'm stressing when you drive with me, you should always see tires touching the pavement of the vehicle in front of you. That's going to give you about a 5 to 6 to 7 foot width in front. I know you're not going to hit the car in front of you if you're 2 feet from behind, but that's way too close if you ever get hit from behind. The other thing they tell you to do is that be careful because your body's going to get lunged forward. Remember, the airbags don't come out. Airbags do not come out if you're getting hit from behind. They only come out if you're getting hit from the front. So brace yourself because your body's going to be lunging forward. Kind of brace your back and your head up against the back of the headrest and the back of the seat to try to counter that force that's pushing you forward. Okay, protecting yourself from being hit from the side. As I was saying, we got 2 sides, left and right. Being a driver, if you're the only one in the vehicle, being hit on the left side is worse than being on the right. The other problem of being hit on the right, and I want you to write this down in your notes, is that it's pushing you into oncoming traffic. So this is where you've got to be careful and try to steer away from cars that are coming towards you. Being hit from the left, it could push you in another lane if there's a lane right next to you, but normally it will push you to the breakdown lane or maybe parked cars. And then of all the different crashes that you're going to have, being hit to the front is by far the worst. So hopefully you're in your seatbelt. I don't agree with putting your arms to protect your face. You can't, and this was a long time ago before airbags. They had this in the manual. I should just delete it. Basically what you need to remember is that if your hands are at like 10 or 2 o'clock rather than 9 o'clock, 3 o'clock, or 8 and 4, is that your hands will come up towards your face. When you hold the steering wheel tight up near the top, the hands will probably come towards the top of your head. So just remember that. Now, I hope and pray that you never, ever have to go through being involved in a crash. Unfortunately, I can't say that I have been crash free. Okay, I've been hit in the driver's ed car twice. It wasn't the student's fault. It was someone hitting us. It wasn't bad. Both times it was on the side. One time it was downtown Dover by an elderly gentleman that did not check his shoulder when he was making a lane change, and he drove right into the side of the vehicle. The other time was downtown Durham near the, right on Madbury Road. And I think I've got a picture of it, so I'll show it to you. It's right near Saxby's. But a college student couldn't see pulling out from a roadway to the left and assumed that it was clear and pulled out and hit us on the right side of the vehicle. So I want you to write down these steps, and I do want you to follow these steps because I'm going to give you an assignment, a worksheet that you're going to have to complete and hand in for next Tuesday. If you do not stop at the scene of a crash, we call that hit and run. So make sure you write down your notes. Always stop. But if you do stop, what I want you to write down is make sure that you stop in a place where you do not get hit again. All right? So move the car off to the side of the road in a place that is safe. And that's basically what they're saying on the second bullet here. Move your vehicle off the road so you don't block traffic or cause another collision. Now, I'm going to get out of here for a second. I've got my phone right here with me, so I'm going to grab it. So hold on. So what I want you to write down in your notes is that before you move your vehicle after it's been hit, I want you to get out of the car. I want you to get your phone, and I want you to go to all four sides of the vehicle and take a picture. Take a picture to the front, the right, the rear, and the left. But get back about 30, 40 feet, get a wide angle picture of the crash. And the reason why you want to do that is your picture that you show to the police or the insurance company they will be able to see the placement of the vehicles, really who probably caused it, what really happened. So when they do an investigation, they look at how far were you from the center line, the edge line, from a telephone pole, and what we call that is a reconstruction of the crash scene. Now, if someone is injured or killed, the police are going to do their own investigation, so there's going to be more, paperwork involved. But if it's just a minor fender bender, you still probably should take pictures so you can prove your point that it wasn't your fault. Give aid to people if you know first aid. If not, make sure that you call 911. So we want to make sure the ambulance shows up. We want to make sure the police show up. Even a fire truck, depending on the severity of a crash, will probably show up. Get the names and addresses of all people involved in the crash, including injured people, because that's going to help you when you fill out your crash report. Let me just kind of go and show you. This is what we're going to be doing for homework. So this is an official State of New Hampshire motor vehicle accident report. So this is what you're going to be doing at some point. So that's the first side of it, and this is the second side of it. And I will have a link for those of you that don't have Facebook. I'll send you a copy of this. For those of you that are members of the remote toll driving school driver's ed class, I will have it on Facebook tonight after class. And this is your homework. All right? I want you, this page that I've got on right now, the back page, I do want this completely filled out. But on the front page, let me go back to the front, I'm really only concerned about section A and section B. I don't care about the bottom section here. So don't worry about section C at the bottom. You're not going to have to do that. So at the scene of a crash, what you want to do is get out all the information that you possibly can. So what you're trying to do is record the other driver's name, their address, driver's license number and state of issue, make of the vehicle. So let's just use the driver's ed vehicle. What is the make of the driver's ed car? Okay, I think most of you know that you're driving a Toyota. The model and the year. There's no way you're going to know the year of it, but I think probably half of you realize that it's a Camry. Maybe some of you thought it was a Corolla, but it's a Camry, and it's a 2015. So all this information is going to be listed on that crash report. You should have pictures to show the damage to the vehicle. There's a section, and this is where I want you to get your parents involved in this homework assignment. After driver's ed, and you're a licensed driver, and you're all by yourself driving, if you're involved in a crash, the other person wants to know who your insurance is. They're not gonna be happy if you go, well, let me call my mom, let me call my dad. You got to be responsible. You're an adult now. Once you get a license and you're out on your own on the road, you got to know this information. I would probably guess all of you, if well, half of you, if not all of you, probably don't know who your parents have for an insurance company. You should. So after tonight, you've got to get that information and put that in the crash report. Get names of addresses of other people. And I don't know if I gave you information about your license number, but we'll talk about that. I may tell you how to figure it out. Give the other driver the same information. Note the details of the crash. Write this down in your notes. The best way to get all this information and do it super quick, because most of you would maybe even have to look for paper and pencil to write all this stuff down, take a picture. Write this down in your notes. Take a picture of the person's registration and a picture of their license. That way, if you misspell something or you forgot to ask a question that needs to be filled out on this crash report, you're going to be able to go back to the picture and get it from the license or the registration. Now, on that crash report, there's a section for date, time, location, road condition. It doesn't take you too long to fill it out. I would say when you look at it, it looks kind of lengthy and you're thinking, oh, this is going to take me a half hour. No, I would say that you could probably get most of it done in 10 minutes. Okay? Now, for your homework, I'm not looking for specific information about you or the other driver. So write this down in your notes. When you fill out the crash report, the only thing that I care about is your name, your address, and in your insurance company. Everything else you can make up. Your VIN number, you can make up the make and model of the car that hit you. This is just a worksheet, just a, this is what's going to happen. If I get my license and I get in a crash, I'm going to have to get this out. If you want to do it with somebody else here in class, you can make it more factual, use somebody from class. But I've had a lot of classes that have used, like, I think someone hit Justin Bieber. I think someone ran into Ariana Grande as a pedestrian. Someone ran over the president. Okay, I don't know why he was walking out on the road, but you can. I don't care who you use of what happened during the crash. Make it up. Make it up, because some of the strangest stories, as you can tell from my driver's ed class here, and I like researching articles online, there's some strange things happening out in this world, okay? So have some fun with it. Notify your insurance company, give them complete information, see a doctor. The reason with seeing a doctor is that a lot of times internal injuries may have taken place and you don't know about it until hours or a day later. You need to have it on record that you went to see a doctor and the doctor did x-rays and you're going to have to do, rehab, or there's going to have to be surgery in the next 2 weeks or whatever. It's better for that to come out in a report within 24 hours rather than saying that you went to see a doctor about a week later, because then if it ever goes to court, they're going to try to say, why did it take a week? Did it happen at work? Did it happen at school? Were you playing soccer? And now you say your back is bad. How do we know it's the accident? Maybe it was at the soccer game. So all these things are things you have to think about now, because at the scene of a crash, you're going to be a little bit too shooken up to maybe really do the right thing. This is the kind of note that you do not want to leave, because you are supposed to leave a note indicating if you hit a parked car and you can't find the owner. Leave your name, your address, your phone number, how to reach you, and then try to fill out the crash report with this person that you hit. It's a parked car usually. So this person says, my name is Jack. I accidentally hit your car. Someone saw me, so I'm pretending to write down details. Sorry, because if people see you drive away without leaving a note, they're going to probably write down your license plate number, or maybe even take a video of you driving away. And once again, that's hit and run. Okay, you don't want that to happen. The law in New Hampshire requires that if anyone is killed or injured, and you do need to know this for the final, property damage is more than $1,000. You must file a report that I showed you. This is what you're doing for your homework. You've got to file it to the DMV within 15 days. If you're not sure about the filing, you still should do it. If a police officer comes to investigate the crash, they're filling out a report. That's going to be enough. That is suffice, the requirement. Okay, so you don't have to do that. But I would always call the police. By the way, if you get hit and someone hits you and you're not at fault and they can see that you're a young person, they'll try to pull one of these things. I'll guarantee it. Oh, I'm so sorry I hit your vehicle. Give me your name, your number. I'll give you mine. We'll settle this out of court. We won't get our insurance companies involved. I will take care of it personally. It looks like I only did maybe $800 worth. I'll write you out a check, and everything is going to be fine. I'll just talk to your dad later tonight. Well, guess what? Later tonight comes, he calls your dad and says that you hit him. Wait a minute. That's not the way it went down. That's not what you told me. You told me that you were going to pay for it. You were just going to call my dad and just kind of work out the arrangements. Why is the story changing? Exactly. Okay, exactly. The story changed. They were trying to intimidate you. Okay, that's why I want you to take pictures. This is why I want you to call the police. We've gotten to this point in society where you just can't trust people. You can't. So make sure that you do the right thing. Get other people involved that can be eyewitnesses. Because then it just basically comes down to your word over their word. And you being a young person, you may not get the credibility that is due you. All right? I've actually had students that have told me that this has happened to them. Someone hit them and basically they changed the story and everything got really, really bad after that. So, and the other thing too is people will lie. Now, I could play the part of a older gentleman. Who's to say if I hit you, and you'll probably think, oh, he's an old, scary-looking old guy. I don't want to get him upset. So I give you the name of, my name is Samuel Holmes. How do you know that's not true? Just because I'm an older person, I must be trustworthy, so I must be Samuel Holmes? It's just a name that I made up. That's why you want to get their license, to see if it's legit. And how many people, here's the other thing too. If you get hit and you ask them for their license so you could take a picture, say, I'll give you mine, we can exchange this information, we can, get this all taken care of pretty quick and simple. And they go, oh, I just don't have it with me today. Guess what? There's a good chance their license has been suspended or revocated. Why wouldn't somebody have their license? Well, maybe because they don't have it. It's been taken away. That's when I definitely would call the police. I wouldn't trust anybody that says they left it at home. As we said earlier, make sure that your car is well off the road. I do want you to know this footage questions. Your car should be seen for a distance of at least 200 feet. Flares and triangles, anything to warn other people that something has happened just around a corner over a hill is going to help you out, especially in a serious crash where you can't move the vehicles now. Turn off the ignition because there could be sparks, there could be gas, oil leaking. This is why it's important also to try to free people from the vehicle because these fluids could ignite and now you've got people burning in a car. So time is of the essence. Get people out. Now, keep within the skill of your training. I think most of you have been trained in first aid or CPR, but you could be doing some damage to people, their back, their necks, if you're yanking on them to get them out of a car. Now, I can understand you're worried that the car is going to ignite, so that's why you did it. So there's something called the Good Samaritan law, which means if you stay within the skill level of your training, that it's more difficult to sue you because more and more people they were finding would not get involved and letting people just kind of die at the side of the road because they were afraid of being sued. So they had to enact some type of law years ago saying, okay, we need people to step up and help out. Okay, if they do sue you, you're going to have some protection staying within your training. All right, so that's what that's about. If you arrive at the scene of an accident, in case of a fire, try to get people, as we said, electrical wires. Okay, think about this. If you're driving a vehicle, let's say you were texting and driving, and you weren't paying attention and your car went off the edge of the road, hit a telephone pole, snapped it in two, the top came right down on top of you, and you've got sparks just jumping off your vehicle. It's going to be scary. It really is going to be scary. But think about this. You're still alive. So if those electrical wires were going to kill you, they would have killed you already. Here's the problem. Let me get out of the PowerPoint here for a second. I'm sitting in my seat right now. I'm in a car. My first reaction is to open the door and to step out. When I step out from my car, where is my left foot? My left foot is touching the ground. Where is my right foot? Still in the car. You now become grounded. This is where you get electrocuted. This is why you stay in your car. You want to call for help and have someone go to the power company and turn off the power to that section of the roadway. And as we said earlier, you should always try to help people out. Always. It's a matter of life and death. Minutes. Sometimes you only have seconds. You don't have minutes. Because if people stop breathing, I think it's like within 4 minutes. If you're not trying to revive them, then you're not going to. So you got 4 minutes, then brain damages and heart failure is going to take place. So it's not one of these things, should I help them? Should I not? You got to jump right in there and do it. And I think everybody from this class would do the right thing. Stay with the injured people until the ambulance comes. If you're not the first person at the scene of a crash, your help's not needed, then keep driving on. One of the worst things that ever happened in the driver's ed vehicle was we did hit a dog. Okay, we came around a corner. The dog was chasing something. I couldn't hit my instructor's brake. I could not grab the wheel to move the vehicle. It just happened. We had to go door to door. We went to, I think, 2 or 3 houses. We did find the owner. He admitted this is something that happened before. He's lost a few dogs on Route 4. And it should have been on a leash, or on a run. But we had to find the owner, and we had to call the police and make out a report. So anything that is domesticated, a dog or a cat, you should try to find the owner and make a report. Now, making the report is for the dog. For a cat, you don't have to. Don't get into, I know some of you may be cat people. I don't understand it either. But it is for dogs. There's nothing worse, okay? And I do know this happened at another school that I was teaching at, that a person hit the business teacher's cat and killed it, and was so afraid of how the business teacher was going to react to finding out her cat died, they drove away. They just left it right there in the front of the yard, right in the front of the house, I should say. That's not what you want to see when you come home, especially if it's a little kid coming off a bus to see the family pet. So this is why you got to call the police, find the owner, move it away from where people can see it. Do the right thing. Okay, we'll take a thing. I'll show it right now. Wildlife, and I want you to write this down. There are 4 types of animals that we have issues with in New Hampshire where it's doing damages to vehicles. So write this down. Number 1 would be right at the top would be deer. A lot of deer. And I just saw on Facebook from a student that I had many years ago, probably about 5 or 6 now. The deer just hit the side of her car, and she's got some back and neck injuries because I think it forced her off the road. But she says she seems to be okay, but the car's got a pretty big dent. So deer, bear, moose, and turkeys. That is what we're finding a lot of people hitting. Okay, so deer, bear, moose, turkeys. My philosophy is that if it's bigger than a microwave, do anything that you can to avoid it. But don't go into oncoming traffic. Your life is more valuable than theirs. But anything smaller like a raccoon, squirrel, chipmunk, possum, you're going to hear a thump, but it's not going to do any major damage to your car. But anything like a fox to a bear, deer, okay, you're going to be breaking, plastic bumpers and headlights and things like that. So let me show you the wildlife video that they provided to Driver's Ed a couple years ago.
There are approximately 1,500 collisions reported between wildlife and motor vehicles. On average, 1 to 2 people are killed and over 1,300 people are injured in these collisions. The average cost for repairs to a vehicle involved in a collision with a deer, a bear, or a turkey is around $4,000. However, vehicle repair costs after hitting a moose average $23,000. There are 4 wild animals that can cause significant vehicle damage or personal injury. The following video focuses primarily on moose. But keep in mind, you're more likely to hit a bear, a turkey, or deer on New Hampshire's roadways. If you want to lessen your chances of hitting a wild animal, please listen carefully to and abide by the following safe driving instructions.
Wildlife and cross the road anywhere. You need to be constantly scanning the sides of the roads. If you do see wildlife, slow down. And be aware that at night your visual acuity is greatly impacted. You simply cannot see what is coming up onto the roadbed. So you need to drive slower to account for the fact that at any moment something may pop into the road.
I looked in the mirror to see if I could cut in, and I couldn't. I looked ahead, and 10 yards from me was this big bull moose standing there. And I never had time to touch the brakes. My mind said moose, bang, it was that quick.
The moose fell on top of right on my roof, and then crushed my roof and my head and everything in the process, and broke my spinal cord.
You see that big thing standing in the road, and you stop and you look and you realize you're looking at one big, living, moving animal, an AI. I mean, even for me, as many as I've seen around here, when I see just that one stopped and looking at you, that's a big animal.
Moose are large, somewhat homely, but as John Sutton and Dartmouth Hitchcock calls them, majestic animals. They reflect our environment.
Well, moose are perfectly adapted to live in the North Country. Their legs are 4 feet long. They're almost 6 feet tall or better at the shoulder. They weigh about 1,000 pounds on average as an adult. They can weigh as much as 1,400 pounds. They have a very heavy hide and very thick hair coat. They are just perfectly adapted to the cold and deep snow. If you hit a moose going faster than 55 miles per hour, these animals are 6 feet tall or better at the shoulder. You hit them at the leg, at the height of their legs. They clear the legs out from underneath them. Their body comes down. If you are going better than 55 miles an hour, your vehicle is continuing at quite a rate of speed as the body is falling down. The body hits either in your windshield or right on top of the roof. And that's 1,000 pounds that's coming through the windshield at you or coming down on top of the roof.
There's a couple things that happen to the people in the front seat. Normally, the first thing that happens is they obviously get covered with glass because of all that fragmentation from the windshield being destroyed. Secondly, the roof tends to collapse down on top of them, and because of that, they usually end up with either head injuries, neck injuries, spinal injuries of some sort.
They're covered with ticks, particularly in the earlier part of the year. Thousands of them. They then find themselves into the clothes and hair of the occupants of the vehicle. And they're unpleasant. They don't cause illness. They just require removal. The animal may bleed, and very often when they're inside the vehicle, their sphincters relax. And so they defecate and let loose their bowels within the vehicle.
The moose was on top of the vehicle, and after when it got over the initial shock of being hit, it started struggling, and the moose actually kicked out one of the rear windows while it was on top of her car.
And that salt that we've been using all winter long on the roads is something that moose desperately need come spring. So they will come out to the road to utilize the salt, and they'll continue to do that all through the spring, summer, and early fall months.
And they're so black you don't see them till you're right on top of it. People say, oh, you can't see a moose? You know, it's so big. But they blend in. Your headlights, you know, finally will pick them up.
The other thing, at least especially up in the North Country, but it's helpful anywhere, I would say, is to scan the roadway a lot when you're driving. Really pay attention. To look further down the roadway than I think a lot of people are kind of trained to look more directly in front of their car rather than looking at the furthest point that they can see when they're driving, which would give them time to react and prevent a collision. It's difficult with moose because they're just so hard to see, especially at night. You usually don't see them until you're right up on them.
When it's getting dusk to dark, use your high beams. You turn your headlights on, use your high beams. Obviously not at other cars coming at you, but if you're out there by yourself, flip your high beams up. Watch your speed. Keep it down. Leave yourself enough time so if something jumps out in front of you, hopefully you can at least slam on your brakes and either minimize the damage or just not get involved at all.
Their eyes do reflect light, but because they're so tall, I mean, their head can be 7 feet above the tarmac. You're not looking that high off the roadway in order to see that eye shine. And typically they may not be turning to look at you because moose, because they're so large, really aren't afraid of very much. So they may be looking down the road, they may be looking directly across the road. It's hard to see them at night.
Moose are the largest animals in the woods. They are afraid of nothing.
Moose that don't run are moose that live for another day. The worst thing they can do is run from their primary predator, which is a wolf pack. So they have evolved to stand their ground, which also makes it not very good for them when a car is approaching. A lot of moose will stand their ground if they consider it to be a threat rather than run.
And what we have to remember is this is a factor of an animal who is not afraid of a car or a human being or a tractor trailer. They have no issues with that, and they tend to just stroll out and do whatever they want to do whenever they want to do it.
And you don't know really when they're going to bust right out of the woods and make a run across the road. So when you are in moose country and it says watch for moose, heads up, pay attention to it.
Drive 55, keep your high beams on whenever possible, and scan for something coming up into the road.
You're going to lose. You're just going to lose if you hit one. And the hard part is maybe you'll survive, but your friends won't.
Her last words to her mother were, "Mom, there's a moose." She was killed at the scene, but her mother was not aware of her death. She was transported to the, dazed and confused, transported to the emergency department in Littleton, and I had to tell her. And the grief of a mother is like the earth grieving its young.
So as you can see, hitting a moose is going to do some serious, serious damage to you and your vehicle just because of the high center of gravity. So slow down on those back roads. Look off to the right. Keep your high beams on as long as you possibly can, as long as you're not blinding other people on the roadway. All these steps will help reduce the chances of being involved in a crash with wildlife. But as you can see by the side of the road right now, and by the way, that's where you see most of crashes, is the animals are off towards the white edge line, not towards the center. It's because by the time your lights illuminate where the animal is, you can't stop. And it's usually when they're coming from the right side of the road. Okay, let's talk a little bit about insurance. Now, this is going to get really kind of complicated. But what I want you to write down, if you write down a lot of this information, I will guarantee you share this information with your parents tonight, you're going to save money. And I'm not talking just like $25, $50. You're going to save over $100 to $200 on your car insurance if you apply some of these principles. So let's just talk about what the state wants you to know about insurance. New Hampshire is one of the few states, when you're older than 18, that you do not have to have car insurance. So you drive at your own risk. Now, remember, if you're involved in a crash, you're going to be held responsible for paying for all the medical bills and repairing the other person's car. And that could be, tens of thousands, like we saw with Jackie. How about Jackie? Remember, $5 million? Who's going to pay for that? Okay, so insurance does help cover the majority of crashes. And what insurance is supposed to do is to bring your vehicle or you back to whole. So when you fix a vehicle, it's crashed, you bring it to the auto body shop, they put on new fenders, they bang out where the car has been crashed into, they put on new paint, it looks brand new. Someone breaks your back, your leg, they bring you to the hospital, they put a cast on it, you have surgery, they're trying to make you new. So insurance, the whole point of it is to get you back to where you were before, or your car back to where it was before, as close as we possibly can. But that costs money, and most people can't do that out of pocket. So what they're willing to do is to put a little bit of money every year, and think how this works. Think of insurance as being like a bucket, and everybody's throwing money into that bucket just in case something bad happens to them, that they'll be able to get some money from that bucket, probably more than what they paid in that year to get their car fixed. So think about it. You put $1,000 into that bucket every year, and then let's say 10 years from now, you have a serious crash and you do $40,000 worth of damage. You probably don't have that in the bank, but hey, you kept on putting that money in the bucket. So they're going to take $40,000 out of that bucket for you and pay it to the other person. So when you're dealing with $40,000, $100,000, $150,000, that's a lot of money. It really helps you out. But most people, when they hear, I got to pay $1,000, $2,000 for my insurance, and I didn't even collect it last year. I didn't have any accidents. I didn't have any problems with my car. Yeah, you didn't. Somebody else used that $2,000 that you put in the bucket. But one of these years, you're going to have to use their $2,000. So that's basically what insurance does. Okay? So let's break down an insurance policy. Like I said, if you're under the age of 18, you've got to be put on your parents' policy or have your own. But once you're older than 18, then you're on your own. You can make your own decisions. But look at this. New Hampshire is the costliest state for getting insurance for new drivers. Insurance rates are based upon speeding tickets and crashes. A lot of young people, a lot of young adults are having problems. So that's why this number is so high. When would insurance be required? Now, the state may tell you that you have to get insurance. Oh, I'm 25. Well, I thought I learned in driver's ed I didn't need insurance. But your driving record is so bad. You've been stopped 2 times for reckless driving. You've had a DWI. So if your driving is to a certain point, then the state will tell you that you've got to have it. And that's that SR 22 that we were talking about that you have to have on file. So let's take a look at insurance. Now, I'm going to show you this. I think this is another like 10-minute video about insurance. We're going to come back after this, and I'm going to break down each portion of insurance for you, okay?
Hello, my name is Lisa LaLiberty. I'll be speaking on the basics of auto insurance. For most people, buying an automobile is their first major purchase. Actually, a new car is second only to a home as the most expensive purchase many consumers make. With vehicle prices averaging over $28,000, it's easy to see why one would want to protect that investment. Before we talk about coverage for the automobile itself, I'd like to start with what many people believe is the most important coverage of all, liability coverage. Liability coverage pays for the injuries or damage you or someone driving your car cause to other people or their property. The 2 liability coverages are called bodily injury liability and property damage liability. Every state has different laws dictating the minimum coverage you must carry for this. Some states require you to prove you have insurance before registering a motor vehicle, and other states use the honor system, where you only have to provide proof if you have an accident or violation. A typical state-required minimum coverage is 25, 50, 10. And I'll provide an example shortly to explain what that means. There are 4 states that do not require drivers to carry any liability coverage. Just because it's not required by law doesn't mean you don't need it. Let's say you have an accident. You're distracted momentarily and rear-end the BMW in front of you. There are 3 people in it, all of whom suffer some injury. If you're carrying liability coverage of 25, 50, 10, that means your insurance company will cover the cost of any one person's injuries, rehabilitation expenses, pain and suffering, and time lost from work up to $25,000. But they will not pay more than $50,000 for the accident, regardless of the number of people injured. This is the bodily injury portion. And your insurance company will pay up to $10,000 for the property damaged. So 3 people are injured. Let's say their injuries total $75,000, and the BMW has rear-end damage of $13,000. Your policy will pay for $50,000 for all injuries and $10,000 for the property damage. Where does the remaining $25,000 for bodily injury and $3,000 for property damage come from? Once your policy pays the maximum limits, you could be held personally responsible for the remaining amount. It's generally recommended that you carry more than the state minimum coverage to protect yourself from this financial risk. The next coverage under an automobile policy is medical payments coverage. This provision protects you and your passengers if you're hurt in a car accident, regardless of who's at fault. The coverage also extends to you and your family members if you're a passenger in someone else's car or if you're a pedestrian injured by an automobile. Medical payments coverage pays the medical bills resulting from an accident up to a per-person maximum, commonly $5,000. There are no deductibles and no waiting period under this coverage, and prescription drugs related to the injuries are covered. Consider that accident with the BMW again. Let's say that you and your passenger are both injured and taken by ambulance to the hospital. Medical payments coverage of $5,000 will cover the cost of the ambulance ride, the emergency room visit, and subsequent doctor's visits up to $5,000 per person. If your medical bills total $7,000 and your passengers total $3,000, the policy will pay $8,000 under this coverage. Some states have a medical payments coverage known as Personal Injury Protection, or PIP. This coverage may have a deductible, and it may allow you to collect for lost wages and rehabilitation expenses, 2 things that regular medical payments coverage does not cover. A third coverage provided by an automobile insurance policy is uninsured and underinsured motorist coverage. This coverage is quoted similarly to bodily injury liability. Even though mandatory insurance laws exist in 48 states, nearly 15% of all accidents are caused by uninsured drivers. Uninsured motorist coverage provides protection for you and your passengers when you're injured in an accident with an uninsured motorist. It will cover your medical bills, rehabilitation expenses, lost wages, pain and suffering, things you could have claimed against the at-fault party's insurance if they had it. Underinsured motorist coverage will cover those same losses if the at-fault party's coverage is insufficient for your loss. Keep in mind, in most states, the uninsured, underinsured motorist coverage applies to injury only and not for damage to your vehicle. Protection for your automobile is provided under the collision and comprehensive portions of a policy. Collision coverage applies when you have an accident involving another vehicle or an object, such as a telephone pole, a guardrail, a building, or when you overturn your vehicle. Comprehensive coverage applies in losses involving fire, theft, vandalism, broken glass, hitting an animal, flood or hail damage, or other losses not caused by collision. These coverages have a deductible, the amount you must pay before the insurance company pays for damages. Common collision deductibles are $500 or $1,000, and common comprehensive deductibles are $100 or $250. If your automobile is financed, then you're required by the bank or financer to carry comprehensive and collision coverages until that loan is paid off. It's important to note, an insurance company will never pay more to fix your vehicle than the vehicle is worth. Two other coverages available through many insurance companies are towing and emergency road service and rental car reimbursement. While these coverages are optional, I always recommend them as part of my full coverage package. Automobile insurance rates are based on many factors, including where you live, your age, what you drive, how much you drive, and the coverage you carry. One way to keep your insurance costs down is to take high comprehensive and collision deductibles. As a vehicle gets older and is not financed, many people choose to drop these two coverages completely as a way to save money. Additionally, many people choose to pay for small claims out of their own pockets as a way to keep their rates down. But remember, the coverage you carry is just one of the factors contributing to the cost of insurance. There are things you can do to make sure you get the best price possible. The first is to keep your driving record clean. Your driving record is used as a predictor of future experience. Accidents and violations stay on your record for 3 years, and major violations and suspensions stay on for 5 years. Many companies now use a scoring model that combines your driving record with a variety of other information, including certain elements of your credit history and prior insurance claims to determine your cost for insurance. This means that paying bills on time could affect your insurance rate, as could the number of claims you file on your policy. Automobile insurance can be confusing, but a little knowledge can go a long way in providing you the protection you need.
Okay, now that you're totally confused about everything, let's kind of break this down, okay, to simpler terms. There are 3 definitions that I want you to know for the final. The first one is when they talk about an insurance policy, what they're talking about is a contract between you and the insurance company. It's a legal document. They develop it, put in components like they were just talking about, like comprehensive, collision, liability, all these terms that they were talking about. That's in the policy. Once you sign it and they sign it, the agent signs it, it becomes binding, it becomes legal. Now, the premium is the amount of money that you pay for that contract, for that policy. Now, most people, when they hear that their insurance is going to be like $1,800, they go, whoa, I don't have that kind of money right now in my checking account. Then they will break it down into different time schedules. Like, could you pay every month like $125, $150? Yeah, that's reasonable. I could probably do that. I could do that. So you can break it up paying every month, every 2 months, every 3, 4. Whatever works for you. But just realize the more you spread it out over the year, the more it's going to cost you. So that's number one way to save money. Pay for it all up front. Okay? The more you pay up front, the whole year, you're going to get a discount for that one check rather than paying it twice or 4 times a month. Now, the term deductible, and this is really confusing for most people. Okay, write down the amount of money you pay for each crash before the insurance company pays the remaining cost. And she gave you a couple examples of what would happen. Just in order to keep down insurance rates, like I was telling you, you're putting money in a bucket, but let's say that you never make a claim. You never have to use that insurance policy. You know, why do I have to pay more for insurance every year and year and year? So what they've done is they set up this term or this process that, well, if you're still involved in a crash, even though you've paid $1,800, you're going to have to pay now $250 first, and then we'll pay the remainder of what the cost of repairing your car or medical bills. And that's called a deductible. Now, what I want you to write down in your notes so you understand this, this is the second way that you're going to save money. Guaranteed. The higher you go with your deductible, the lower your premium is going to be. So as I told you, $1,800 is what you were going to pay for the year for insurance. Let's say that the deductible was $250. So you tell your insurance agent, well, I learned in driver's ed that if I went high on my deductible, let's say that I go to $500 rather than $250, what would my premium be? Rather than $1,800, maybe it's $1,600. That's $200 you just saved. But Mr. Toll, I just went up $250 on my deductible. But remember, you're not going to have to pay that deductible if you're not involved in a crash. If you go the entire year, you're not paying the deductible. You are paying the premium every year. You are paying the premium. Well, in that case, let's go, if it was going to be $1,800 for $250, wonder if I went to $1,000 deductible, what would it do? Now it's all the way down to $1,300. You just saved $500 by going to $1,000 deductible. My wife and I never have crashes. We just don't. We always go with the highest possible deductible. So that's a great way to save money. Now, insurance, they were talking about, you may be required to have it, so this is the bare minimum. $25,000 for injury or death to one person, that's not much. $50,000 death to more than one person in the car, so if you got a car of three people are splitting $50,000. And then property damage is $25,000. What I've done below, and you don't have to write this down, but if you were to take that first number and replace it with the number I've got down below, 100,000, that's probably more reasonable. That's what a normal policy would look like. Having 3 people in the car makes more sense to have maybe 300,000 than 50,000, and then 50,000 for property damage. So I want you to write this down. This is another way to save money. When they write out your policy, they're giving you limits. So these are limits. Okay, this is the maximum your insurance company will pay for you. If your premium is too high, go down on your limits. So rather than 100, 350, ask them for a policy that's 75, 250, and 25. Those are your limits. Your premium will go down. That's a way to save money. Now, I don't want to insult anybody that has parents or friends that sell insurance. I actually sold insurance, life insurance for a while. But think about this. Anybody that sells you something, they're making money. And they should make money. They really should. But you have to be honest with people. One thing that you find about people that make commission, the more product that they sell, the more commission, the more they make. So this is where it's really wise of you to do your research. And I'm sure your parents have done this, but maybe it's been a year or two that they've really never thought about this. So if you bring this up to your parents, I will guarantee you will save money. All right? So, shop it around. That's the other thing. I will guarantee if you were to call 3 insurance companies tomorrow morning, let me give you 3 right off the top. If you call Liberty Mutual, Allstate, and Progressive, we can even throw Geico in there. Do you think you're going to get a price for insurance that's going to be the same with all 4? All of them would call you back and say, oh yeah, $1,800, $1,800, $1,800, $1,800. All 4 of them would give you $1,800 quote. Nope, not a chance. One of them is going to be the most expensive. One of them is going to be the cheapest. And it's basically going to be the same thing. Think of it this way. If you went to Hannaford and went to buy, let's say, water, Poland Springs water, okay, right from the refrigerator, right near the cashier place, it'd probably be like $1.19, $1.29. You go to a gas station down in Dover and get that same bottle of Poland Springs at the gas station. It's now $1.79, $1.89. Same labeling, same bottle, same amount of ounces. You buy that same bottle of Poland water at a concert at Fenway Park, it's going to cost you $5, $7. It's the same thing. Insurance is the same. The more you shop it around, you're going to find you're getting the same thing cheaper. So that's another way to save money. So let's break down each one. And I'm only going to give you the top definition. So I don't want you to write everything down here because you don't need it all. But please write down in your notes, liability is the most important type of insurance that you will purchase. That takes care of the other person. So just write down, liability takes care of the other person. I think you would have common sense. What is the other person? What is his bills going to be? Well, he's got medical bills. Yep. He's got to get a new car. Yep. He's got his drivers he's got to take care of. Yep. Legal costs, lawyers. Yep. Everything. Okay. Anything that deals with the other person that's going to get covered. So liability is going to be your most expensive form of insurance. So remember, an insurance policy is going to be broken down into like 6 or 7 different parts. You don't need to buy every single part. You only want the parts that are important to you. So liability would be at the number 1 slotted spot. Collision and comprehensive deals with you and your car. So it repairs or replaces your car if it's stolen or damaged in a crash, even if you're the one causing the crash. Let's say that you're driving too fast around a corner. You can't stay on the road. You go off the edge of the road and you hit a tree. You caused it. You're the only one on the road. It was just you going too fast. You're going to think, no, my insurance company's not going to pay for my repair of my car. Oh, yes, they are, if you've got collision. Now, the next time you try to get insurance, they're going to say, hey, we just forked out, $18,000 to fix your vehicle. Next year, you're going to be paying more. So your driving record, speeding and crashes, has a direct correlation into what you're paying for a premium. But like I said, keep the deductible high, drive well, and your insurance rates will be low. The other thing I want you to write down, and it's not up here on the PowerPoint, but basically if you go out on your own policy, you're going to be paying more than you would on your parents' policy, and you will not see a deduction or a reduced rate in your insurance until you're the age of 24, 25. So just realize your next 8 years of driving is very important to lay a foundation to let the insurance company know that you're a good, safe driver. Personal injury, that's like medical bills. So if you've got good medical insurance, you probably don't need that. So we can skip over that. Then I'm a big proponent of AAA, so that's roadside assistance. I never have roadside assistance on my policy. I always do AAA off on the side. Rental and reimbursement, I have a truck. My wife has a car. I don't care about renting another car. I've got transportation, so I never put that on my policy. Taking those two things off your policy, you may save $100. So write that down in your notes. To save money, take off things I would never use. I never use the rental, so why pay for it? So if you pay for it, your agent is making money on that. So maybe you're happy that you're paying him extra money. But that's how you save money. Uninsured is good to have. That's taking care of medical rehabilitation and funeral bills for you and your passengers if someone hits you and they don't have enough coverage or no coverage. So like the case of Jackie, that was definitely underinsured. He didn't have very good insurance to cover $5 million. Males versus females. And here's all these different companies. Like I told you, if you shop it around, look, it's the same policy, but look at the range in prices. Look at Liberty Mutual. It is expensive. I will tell you, I had Liberty Mutual for a while, and then when I put my daughter on it, I shopped it around. Oh, I saved like $600-700. I left Liberty Mutual so fast. Yeah, when I put my daughter on for the first time, it was, no, it's not going to work. And I think I went to Progressive. Just look at the price right here from $1,200 to $740. $715 with Progressive Choice. So remember, males will usually pay more than females because they get more crashes and have more tickets. So remember that. So let's talk about other ways that you can save on insurance. Okay, shop it around. Every couple years, look for a different company. The reason why you do this is that someone wants your business. And when they want your business, they're going to always give you a better rate. Once you stay with them for a couple years, you're going to see it starts creeping up. And before you know it, you're going to be paying $50 to $100 more than when you first started with them. Take off collision comprehensive from older vehicles. We talked about increasing your deductible already. Taking additional safe driving classes, defensive driving, will help. If you get good grades, I know some of you are good students, guess what? You're going to save hundreds of dollars. If you weren't on the honor roll, you'd be paying $300 more every year. So being a good student does pay off. Pay up front. Pay the whole thing. Go on your parents' policy. When looking for a car, think about how much is it going to cost me to insure it. Cars do differ by their value and the likelihood that they're going to be stolen. So maybe ask your insurance company before you buy a car, what's my rate going to be? Can I really afford insuring this type of a vehicle? There are different car apps now that you can put on your vehicle that will show what type of driver that you are, what kind of driving habits that you have, and you can save up to 20%. So these are good. Now, some states do not allow this type of program, so it's called IntelliDrive. So it's a 90-day program that uses a smartphone app to capture your scoring, your driving behavior. So like I'm saying, quick stops and quick accelerations would give you a bad score. So going the speed limit and stopping early, all these things would show that you're a decent driver. And it plugs right into your car. And like I was saying before, they also have an app to file for that accident report. So let me show you the app for Allstate about making a claim.
When small accidents happen, don't let it take up more time than it has to. Let Allstate's Quick Photo Claim help get you back to your routine without the extra hassle. Once you've downloaded the Allstate mobile app, you can use Quick Photo Claim to submit your damages easily on your smartphone. The Quick Photo Claim feature within the Allstate mobile app is designed to use photos of your vehicle to provide a repair quote for minor damage without having to meet an adjuster or visit a body shop. To begin, make sure you're in a safe, well-lit area and that you have a good cellular connection. Open your Allstate app and select Quick Photo Claim from the home screen. After entering your claim number, the app will prompt you to take at least 3 photos of the damaged area. To avoid glare, turn your mobile camera's flash off. Tap the screen to focus the camera if the shot seems blurry. Next, Quick Photo Claim provides a frame for you to take photos of all four corners of your vehicle. The last step is to capture a photo of your odometer and VIN. The app will show you multiple locations where you can find your VIN on your vehicle. After the photos are submitted, an adjuster will review the information. Claim payments can be set up through the Allstate mobile app if you are registered and logged into My Account. Small accidents don't have to be a hassle. Download the Allstate mobile app and let Quick Photo Claim handle your fender bender in no time. Available for download in the App Store or Google Play.
So that's pretty helpful, so you don't have to do the paper form like I showed you that you're going to have for a homework activity tonight. One of the reasons why people get into a lot of car crashes is they have aggressive behavior. The term we use is road rage, so we're going to just do a little bit on road rage right now. We may not be able to get through all of it, but I want to show you a thing on road rage. Oh, no, that's manual transmission. Where's my road rage? There we go. Now, this was local. This is in Rochester. 2 men face assault charges after a road rage incident, which led a person to get out with a flashlight, and the other person came out of his vehicle with an angle grinder, which they used as weapons on each other. And you can see that their heads are all cracked up and stuff like that. So we don't know what type of driving behavior was going on, but they figured, oh, echo again. They figured, let's, settle this off to the side of the road. This happened in Massachusetts. Now, I think there was a small fender bender in a parking lot, and they weren't exchanging information or they weren't getting along. And this is how the argument basically, elevated to this extreme behavior. Watch this. You will not believe what happened here.
It's not a movie scene, but real-life road rage. After a fender bender, 65-year-old Richard Kamrowski jumped on the hood of an SUV, attempting to leave the scene. The driver speeding up to 70 miles per hour on the busy Massachusetts Turnpike during rush hour.
He kept going fast, slow, tried to get me to slide off. I wasn't getting off the car.
Kamrowski managed to hang on for miles as an onlooker captured the dangerous highway ride. At one point, you see Kamrowski looking down at his phone, dialing 911 for help.
Kind of like just survival mode.
The driver finally hit the brakes when Good Samaritans blocked him in. One bystander drawing a gun. Police arrested the driver, Mark Fitzgerald, for assault with a dangerous weapon, among other charges.
He took my water bottle out of my car. He smashed my window.
Police also arrested Kamrowski. He's charged with disorderly conduct. 2 men on one wild ride that started with a minor crash and ended with major drama.
Why would any reasonable adult, and I'm basically the same age as Kalowski there, I would never grab the hood of a vehicle that's going interstate speed of 60, 70 miles per hour. I mean, he could have slipped right off that vehicle. Now it's vehicular homicide. He probably has a family. How are you going to... That's not fair to his wife or his kids. What type of driving behavior is worth getting on a hood of a vehicle as it's driving away? I can't think of any. Even if he put a scratch in my car, even if he really totaled my car, I still don't think I would have that type of behavior. We're going to, I want you to write down anger and mad. I want you to understand that human emotion is real when you're driving. We're emotional people. So you're going to have good days and bad days. You're going to be happy. You're going to be sad. And you're going to carry that type of emotion behind the wheel of the car. But you've got to basically understand that once you start moving down the road, you can't let your anger be portrayed or go against other people. You got to keep it in check. So anger is mild. It's a strong feeling of annoyance, displeasure, or hostility. It'd be like if I said right now, I'm going to check how many people we got. We got 8 people watching. It would be like I would say right now, for tonight's homework, once I get off, I want you to do a 6-page report on road rage. I want it to be typed. I want it to be sent by mail, certified mail, so it's going to cost you money, so that I receive it by Monday. Has to be typed. It has to have references. You're all probably going to go, oh, you've got to be kidding me. I've got so much to do at school, other classes. Why is he doing this to me? You'd be pretty angry. You would not be happy. That's displeasure. Now, if you are mad, now mad is complete unrestrained by reason or judgment. Now, if I gave you that assignment while we were in class, if you got up from your desk and flipped it over and ran to the door and slammed it, maybe called me a couple choice names, gave me the finger, you're mad. You're acting out. It's a fit of mood or bad temper. People are driving mad. They're doing all these things that if they had time to look back at it, to step back, they're going, was that really me? Did I really say that? Did I really do that? And how many people do you know when they do something wrong, it's like, oh, I'm so sorry. I don't know why I did that, but I just did. Let me give you an example. This is of a high school kid in New Hampshire, by the way. Watch this. Let's see what his reaction about why he did something.
PD tonight, Eller is keeping his license for now.
Well, Tom and Tiffany, the judge thought it would be important for Eller to continue to drive as he looks for work. But it's hard to say what the employment prospects would be for a guy who can't explain why he decided to run someone else off the road.
Police say they've never seen such a blatant case of road rage. Friday morning, 18-year-old Cody Eller appeared in court, charged with felony second-degree assault and vehicular assault. Just a few hours prior, around 4:30 a.m., investigators say he intentionally veered his Ford Fusion into a man on a motorcycle trying to pass him on Windham Road in Pelham.
Mr. Eller admitted to the officers, made some sort of a comment to the effect of he wasn't going to allow the motorcycle to pass him. And that's what he tried to force him off the roadway.
The victim ended up at Parkland Medical Center with a broken leg. The wife of 45-year-old William Hawksley says her husband was riding his Kawasaki from home in Brentwood to work in Lowell. Now he'll need surgery to fix his leg. News 9 caught up with Cody Eller after he bailed out.
I wasn't thinking at all.
Eller spoke briefly, admitting he was as confused as anyone else as to why he did what he did.
I am not a dangerous man. I did not mean to do that, but just my thoughts and my actions just wasn't correct.
Court paperwork indicates Eller sped up and crossed over the double yellow line to hit the bike as Hawksley attempted to pass on the left. A neighbor on 111A apparently witnessed the crash and called 911. While Eller has no explanation for his actions, he does want to apologize.
I'm sorry for what I did, and I did not mean to hurt that guy with any intention.
Mr. Eller does face some serious charges, but he does not have a prior criminal record. His only previous brush with the law was for speeding. Reporting live in Pelham tonight, Adam Sexton, WMUR News 9.
So as you can see, he didn't even know why he did something like that. And he seemed to be somewhat remorseful. But why would you get upset that someone's passing you? Let him go. Let him go down the road. Good for him. He's out of my hair. I have to deal with him in my rearview mirror following me too close. Good, pass me. But to run him off the road doesn't seem to be too mature. Okay? And being 18, he was probably very impulsive. Now, remember, you don't always have to do the wrong thing. Here's a person that was being followed too closely. The person passed her, gave her the finger. And further up the road, the person that gave her the finger had a mechanical problem where she lost control of her vehicle and her vehicle flipped over on the right side of the road. Now, rather than drive by and maybe flip the person off and say, it serves you right, this woman decided, I'm going to be the bigger person. She needs my help. Even though she flipped me off, even though I didn't like her driving behavior, I'm going to do the right thing. This is very rare for someone to, not let something get to them. It just shows maturity. So I thought this was kind of interesting. And part of your homework, besides the crash report, I do want you to find a good article about road rage. And I want you to give me a response of what you think could have been done differently. How could they have handled it? Because you're going to be in these situations. I will admit, I do get angry in the driver's ed car when people do things to the student driver. You're trying to learn. You're doing the best that you possibly can. I'm trying to help you do the best that you can. And people will tailgate us. They pass us on the breakdown lane. They pass us on double yellows. They beep at us. They flip us off. Some days I do get angry. I don't get mad. I don't tell the student to go after that person, beep the horn, let's flip them off. I don't do that. You've got to keep your emotions in check. There are many reasons why people get upset and why they want to get by you. But what we're going to take a look at on Tuesday, we'll finish the section on road rage, and then we'll get into highway driving and emergencies, I believe. I think that's what we're going to cover for Tuesday. So do the worksheet from the crash report and find me one good article on road rage that we can discuss on Tuesday. And that's what we'll do for our homework. I know I'm a little bit out of sync with what's on the schedule because it all had to do with timing. So I think tonight I'll be able to give you enough time to get the rest of your work done. Some of you still haven't done the review questions for alcohol. So I want that done. Remember, I posted it to the remote driver's ed page. This is also where you're going to find the worksheet. And I'll make a mention of the road rage article that I want. So Tuesday, we're going to do a lot with highway driving emergencies. And then on Wednesday, we'll probably do sharing the road with motorcycles, tractor trailers, pedestrians, and we'll have some type of review Wednesday night at the very end. And then Thursday will be our final. So a week from tonight, we are done. So we got a lot to do, a lot to cover. So I'm going to sign off. I'm going to give you your work to do for the rest of the evening. So thanks for hanging in there. Let's finish strong. Get your work into me. We'll see some of you that are driving tomorrow and on Saturday. And if you want to drive, make sure you drop me a text. So that is it for tonight. Make sure you've taken good notes. And remember, all these videos are still on YouTube. So if you ever want to go back and kind of scrub through, the material to get stuff, that's probably the best thing to do, especially if you've missed class. So we'll see you on Tuesday. Have a great weekend.